blah 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 blah. Hey guys, it's Matt with BleepinJeep.com. I've been doing these videos for about 5 years now, and the truth is you guys don't know anything about me. So in my last update video that I did, I asked if you would be interested in doing an Ask Me Anything segment, and you were. So I've got a lot of questions that I'm going to try to answer today. I've written them down on this sheet of paper here. So if you have questions that I don't answer today that you would like me to answer, ask them below. Now this is Ask Me Anything except Jeep questions, because I get enough of those every day. So let's just get started here. So the first question is from Matthew Wright. Matthew Wright asks, about to buy my first Jeep with little support from the missus. How did you get your wife to share in your hobby? Well, the truth is, my wife doesn't share in my hobby. She actually hates Jeeping. She doesn't want anything to do with it. And that's okay, because my wife loves to read vampire books. Now, can you imagine if she tried to force me into her hobby of reading vampire books? I would not be interested in reading those kind of books. And she's not interested in Jeeping. So it just kind of goes to show that you can't force your hobbies onto somebody who doesn't have that shared interest. Now, when we were younger, I have pictures from when we were like 16, taking my Jeep out, off-roading in the mud, and from the beginning I don't think she liked it, because I can remember one picture in detail. She has her head out the window. I don't think she was vomiting, but she was about to vomit. So it's just kind of like, I think it has to do with the whole shaking and being a passenger. Now, if your wife is kind of into it, but she's not quite sure, then I would suggest that you let her drive. I know a lot of guys who their wives don't like to go with them unless they're the ones driving. So, you know, you can imagine it's not that much fun being a passenger, but when you get put in the driver's seat, it's a whole different experience. So if she's kind of on the fence, maybe let her drive. If she's really not interested, make it a guy's thing. Or I could tell by your photo that you have kids. Make it a thing that you do with your kids. Take them out Jeeping. Have fun with the dad and the kids type outing instead of involving the entire family. Alright, so the next set of questions, there's actually 4 of them here. I'll answer a few of these. This is from Joshua Bouchard, and he asks, is Bleepin' Jeep your full-time job? What did you do before Bleepin' Jeep? How old are you? How many kids do you have? How long have you been married to your current wife? And how did you obtain your fabrication and mechanical skills? Let's start off with that first one there. I think this was the most common question that was asked, and that is Bleepin' Jeep your full-time job? It is. It is now, starting last year. And before that, I was a wedding photographer, portrait photographer, anything that would pay the bills, like senior portraits, wedding photography, mainly though. And then I started doing Bleepin' Jeep simultaneously with that, and after a while, you know, I just started making more money doing Bleepin' Jeep, started having more fun doing Bleepin' Jeep than I was doing with the photography, and just kind of transitioned over full-time at the beginning of this year. So 2015 was my first full year of doing Bleepin' Jeep full-time, and it's been great. How old are you and how many kids? I'm 32 years old, and I've got 2 kids, and I've been married for 10 and a half years now. We just celebrated 10-year anniversary last August. How did you obtain your fabrication and mechanical skills, schooling or self-taught, etc.? Really, I just kind of figure it out on my own. I've never done schooling. I went to school to be a photographer and a graphic designer. 2 years of graphic design school, 4 years of fine art photography, and then I did some photography, and then I ended up doing automotive work. That's just the way it turns out. I never had any experience doing automotive work other than just on my own. My friends teach me a lot of stuff here and there, friends that are in the four-wheel drive club. I also watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I have always been into fixing things. I remember when I was a kid, probably 10 years old, I would take apart VCRs that weren't working and figure out what was wrong with them and put them back together and fix them. So I've always kind of been one of those kids that had an erector set and built little trinkets and doodads, and that's what I enjoy doing now. Mainly is fabricating. I don't really like the engine work or transmission work, that kind of stuff, but I like building stuff with metal, and that's kind of what I've been doing recently. So yeah, all self-taught. So watch YouTube videos. You can really learn a lot from YouTube videos, and if you have the time and you really want to do it, get a job in the field that you're interested in. That'll really help you out a lot. Alright, so the next question is from George Wastocken. Hopefully I got that right. George Wastocken asks, how old were you when you started working on your first Jeep? And if Jeep never existed, what would your go-to off-road vehicle be? So I bought my first Jeep, which was my crawler that you guys have seen, that got torn down recently. I bought that in 1998, and I was 16 years old. Right, it was like 2 months after I turned 16, on Valentine's Day actually, and so that was my very first vehicle. I remember driving it home. I paid $4,000 for it in cash. Drove it home, and it needed a lot of work. Then it was 10 years old at the time, but it was pretty worn out. When I drove it home, it had only 3 working brakes. The other one had been crimped off, and I had to drive it an hour home. And it worked okay. There was a few things that needed done to it. My mom's boyfriend at the time helped me fix the brakes and a few other odds and ends, and then I just kind of took it from there and built it into what you see today. And then it got scrapped, and that's where I'm working on the Scorpion Crawler project to replace it, because I love that thing. And if Jeep never existed, what would your go-to off-road vehicle be? Well, there's a story there. When I was looking for my first vehicle, I had several options. I only had a little amount of money at the time, so my options there that I was looking at was a Bronco 2, Chevy K5 Blazer, or the Jeep Cherokee, and I'm glad I went with the Jeep, because nowadays you don't see anybody driving the K5 or the Bronco 2. Not that it would have been bad, but you don't see those off-road really, so I'm glad I went with the Jeep Cherokee, and I just kind of lucked out that I did. But I've always wanted a Tacoma, so I think, to your question, I would probably drive a Tacoma if I didn't have the Jeep Cherokee nowadays. Sorry guys, I've had this cough for a while now. I can't get over it. A lot of people say that I look tired in my videos, but it's probably because I'm sick. Alright, Nicolin asks, what made you start doing BleepinJeep, and why do you think there are not many ZJ channels or builds? Well, the reason I started BleepinJeep, it was like 2009 or 2010. I was wanting to change the ball joints on my Jeep, and I had no idea how to do it. So I was looking on YouTube, and there were a couple videos, but none of them were good. They were all really bad quality, handheld, and I thought, well, I can do better than that. Even though I don't know how to change a ball joint, I'll figure it out, and I'll video it. So I did. That was a 3-part video, my first videos that I ever uploaded. And people started watching them and commenting. I got a lot of good response from that, and I just kind of kept on making videos from there. And that's the history. Not real exciting, but it just kind of took off from there, those first 3 videos. Why do you think there are not any ZJ channels or builds? There's just not a whole lot. Hold on, the mailman's here. Well, I don't think there's any ZJ channels because ZJ was only built for a limited amount of time. I think the Cherokee platform was there a lot longer, unchanged a lot longer than the ZJ was when the ZJ went to the WJ and all that. But also the Cherokee is a lot more, there's a lot more aftermarket parts for it, a lot easier to build. The ZJ at the time when it was built was more of a luxury vehicle than the Cherokee was, and therefore not as many people wanted to cut it up and off-road it. Kind of the same way that the Wranglers, the Cherokee was a little more luxury based than the Wranglers. So there's not a lot of Wrangler channels either, or even JK channels, and that's why I'm trying to build this channel. Hopefully somebody out there would like to partner up and do some JK builds, but as far as I know, as far as quality channel videos, there aren't that many other than this one here that do how-to topics. So that's all I've got for you there. Mike E asks, which car do you prefer, muscle or tuner? This one is obviously muscle car. Have to go with the muscle car every year. For the past couple of years, my dad comes down and we go to one of the biggest car shows in the East here, I guess. It's called the Rod Run in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and we always go to the spring Rod Run, and it takes over the whole town. I mean, everywhere you look, there's just muscle cars galore, and I love to go look at the muscle cars. I don't know that much about muscle cars, but I love to look at them. My favorite are the rat rods. I'd love to build a rat rod here after I'm done with this, a Willys model, kind of hot rod, rat rod type thing. But never been into the tuners, just not my thing. Alright, Evil Eagle Talon 2010. Great name. I don't know where you guys find these. What is your favorite trail you've ever been on? Well, there's a lot of trails here in East Tennessee and the surrounding area that are awesome, but since I have never experienced Moab until last year, I would say that the Hell's Revenge Trail in Moab was the coolest trail that I've ever been on, just because it was different. It wasn't really that technically challenging. There was even a guy on a bicycle, a motorized bicycle out there, and I've actually seen people in like a police interceptor, Crown Vic, rolling around out there. There's just so much traction. It's so much different experience than out here. Out here in East Tennessee, you have sharp rocks that are covered in mud, and out there you have sandstone that's usually very dry. And but the views, just the views that you could see once you got up on top of some of those, were ridiculous and crazy. So if you haven't seen that video, go check that out, because I took a video of the entire trail, not the entire thing, but the highlights of the Hell's Revenge Trail. Alright, next question is from Adrian Mancini, and he asks, what is your favorite genre of music? What other hobbies do you have? And if you could meet anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be? Alright, so a favorite genre of music, I like rock music, ska, punk, yep. I like all kinds of music except for rap. I don't like rap, but I like country music. But what I listen to every day would be rock music for sure. What other hobbies do you have? Obviously photography was my main hobby since I was younger. And then, as you know, once you turn your hobby into a job, it kind of wears on you if you're not careful. So photography turned into my job, and that kind of it kind of got old after a while, because what I really wanted to do was landscape photography, scenery type photography, but I ended up having to do it for a living, trying to make money, and so that kind of is not my preferred hobby anymore. I'd like to get back into it, but with kids and everything, I just don't have a whole lot of time for that right now. I also collect cameras. I have a large camera collection. I collect musical instruments. I also, stocks and investments and real estate investments. That's kind of a hobby. And movies. I like to watch movies. And usually that's where the wife and I spend a lot of time, is watching movies and watching shows on Netflix and that kind of thing. Excuse me. If you could meet anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be? I'm not real starstruck, so I don't really care to meet famous people that much. But I would say if I could meet anybody, it would be Dolph DeRue, so I could ask him questions. And you don't know who that is probably, but we'll get to that in just a minute on the next question. So the next question is from Kyle Andrews, and Kyle Andrews asks, where does your inspiration come from? Well, for this, I want to break it up into two parts, because there's the side that you see, which is the BleepinJeep and the inspiration for BleepinJeep, and then there's the side that you don't see, which is life, and the inspiration for everything not associated with my work. So for BleepinJeep, I didn't realize this until a couple years ago, but somebody said that I reminded them of the Red Green Show. And if you haven't seen the Red Green Show, that was on when I was a kid. I used to watch that late at night on my little tiny 13-inch black and white TV. But the Red Green Show was awesome, and I think I got a lot of stuff from that, just kind of subconsciously. I didn't really realize I was getting stuff from that, but recently he started a YouTube channel and has been uploading all of his old stuff on the YouTube channel, so that's kind of fun to go back and watch what I used to watch as a kid. Another inspiration is Mythbusters. That's one of my favorite shows. And Top Gear, the British version. I love to watch all of their episodes. And apparently Mr. Rogers, because everybody seems to think, or a lot of people seem to think I remind them of Mr. Rogers. And I assume that's just from my voice and my monotone speaking habits. I don't know. But I did watch Mr. Rogers as a kid, so maybe there's some kind of subconscious stuff going on there too. Now my second type of inspiration is life, and I like to learn about money and real estate, and I think you guys should too. You got to be more than just learned in off-road and whatever else you like to do, but you should read and you should learn. I read the news every day. I follow that very closely, and I like to I can't read as much as I would like to about money and stuff because I'm just busy all the time, but when I do get a chance, I like to read about real estate and money, and I'll give you some books here that you can check out if you're interested in that. One of my favorites is George Clason's The Richest Man in Babylon. That's a great read. Thomas Stanley, The Millionaire Next Door. That's a great book, and I think a lot of these are on audio books too. If you have some time in the car, you can get these on audio tapes. So The Millionaire Next Door is about how even the guy who lives next door to you, drives a F-150 pickup truck and lives in a modest house, can be a millionaire, and you'd never even know it, because the actual millionaires in the world, not billionaires but millionaires, you would never even know who they are. So that's a really excellent read. And then there's Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's got some good books out there. And then Dolph DeRue is who I told you about earlier, who I'd like to meet. He has a great audio book called The Wealth Magnet, and it just teaches you how to overcome a lot of the constraints that others put on you, that money is the root of all evil, and other things like the filthy rich and stuff like that. And he flips that around and teaches you how to think about that differently. So that's a really a good listen if you ever get a chance. The Wealth Magnet by Dolph DeRue. So that's all the questions I've got. If you're still with us, thank you for watching. I know that was probably pretty boring, but hopefully you learned a little bit about me that you didn't know in the last 5 years. And if you have more questions, not Jeep related, leave those in the comments below. If you're interested, we'll do another one of these. And here soon I'm going to do another update on the Scorpion Crawler project, which is over there. It's looking good. And my truck is outside. It's got a new rough country lift on it. It's looking good too. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. Merry Christmas.